All right.
Oh yeah, it's telling me I'm being recorded.
Yes, recording in progress. Okay. And then I'm going to go to GarageBand and hit record.
Hi everybody. Welcome to the podcast. This is behind the scenes. This is what you can't see in your earballs.
In your earballs.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Okay.
This is our studio. Sound separated by space and time.
All right. I think that I am good to go. I'm going to start recording.
Me too.
You got waves?
I got waves.
All right. Okay. You ready for a 3, 2, 1?
Ready.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Idiot's Guide to Horror.
Counteracting the toxic culture surrounding horror fandom and breaking down your favorite horror movies. With you, as always, your hosts, Kara Faye Daniels Popovich.
And Christopher Professor Harold Monroe Haberman. So everybody turn off the lights, grab some home spring water, and let's get ready to dissect Cabin Fever, the 2002/2003 version, directed by Eli Roth.
Directed by Eli Roth, indeed. It's about time.
You might have heard of him.
It's about time that we brought Eli Roth into the fold. I have been putting off doing Hostel because I don't think that our listeners who aren't horror fans are ready for our descriptions of the torture in Hostel just yet.
I think they could handle Hostel too.
Maybe. But I consider myself to be an Eli Roth apologist. Mm-hmm. So this is very exciting for me.
I did also consider myself that until I remembered his goatee in this movie.
It's fake.
I know.
It's fake.
I know. He's dressed like Fred Durst, but I'm kind of here for it. You know, that I was talking to your sister last night about Fred Durst?
Really?
How we both are still in love with him after all this time.
That hair? You're into that hair right now?
Yeah, I'm into it.
I'm not. I feel like every time I see it, it's like a cursed image, and I'm like, who is that?
This is a secret between me and you, right? My guilty pleasure is Limp Bizkit, and I listen to him frequently.
Okay. What was Significant Other? Was that the album? What was it called? Significant?
Who can tell? As a fan, I don't care at all to know.
The one that had break stuff on it.
Oh, was it Hot Dog Water?
No, that was the one that came after that.
I'm gonna have to Google.
But anyway, I listened to that a lot. I was really into nu metal from the time I was like 12 to the time I was like 15, and then I discovered The Cure and everything went out the window.
And yeah, Significant Other.
Yeah. I ditched the nu metal, and I became a little sensitive pseudo goth. Yeah.
And look at us now.
At us now. I'm still wearing a black shirt.
I'm wearing a shirt from an
Death
anime.
Note.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And I listened to nothing but Billie Eilish's new album for the past 4 days in a row.
I haven't listened to it yet. How is it?
I don't think I like it, but I'm nonstop listening to it. Although starting yesterday, I've been listening to one track on repeat 24 hours a day, which is the title track, Happier Without You, or Happier Than Ever.
Okay. All right. I still need to listen to it. I did really like When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? And I didn't know how old she was because I was like, 27 or 28 at the time. And then somebody told me how old she was, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
No, I refuse to believe that. That makes me feel bad about myself.
I know. What are you gonna do?
Anyway, speaking of Wonderkins,
Lorde has a new album coming out the end of this month.
And what I've heard so far, I'm obsessed.
Do you get our newsletter?
No.
I'm just going to email it to you.
Okay, thank you. So we're talking about Cabin Fever now that we've talked about our pop albums that we're into right now. You can watch this on Peacock. You can also buy it on any of the places where you usually buy movies for pretty cheap. Do not watch the Netflix one. It is the remake, and although I have not watched it yet, I have heard it is pretty bad.
I've also heard it's an exact shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah, but bad
How does
somehow.
that happen?
I don't know. I'm curious. I will probably watch it now that I've rewatched this. I will probably watch it to see what the differences are. Um, I don't know how Eli Roth feels about it. He was a producer on it, I think.
Yeah, he produced it.
Yeah. Um, but let me just, okay. So Eli Roth, you have him to thank for me sitting here telling you all kinds of shit about horror movies right now, because I've learned so much from him. He has done all kinds of interviews and stuff like that where he talks about these really obscure horror movies. And, I watched Cannibal Holocaust because of him. I watched Who Can Kill a Child because of him. I watched almost all of Lucio Fulci's movies because of him. So I'm a little into him. I'm a little bit into Eli Roth.
Mm-hmm.
And this one might not be my favorite of his, but it is the first one I ever saw. So I have a sentimental attachment to it. Would recommend.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, like, I'm announcing my bias, like going into this, like, I have a bias towards this movie. It might not be objectively great, but to me, this movie is everything.
I'm not biased to this movie. Do I enjoy this movie? Yeah. Was I like whenever I was a child, this movie came out. I don't know how old I was in 2002, but I was younger. Younger than however old I am currently. And I remember watching this and being like, this is gross. And then I watched it again yesterday, and guess what? It's still gross.
It's pretty gross.
It holds up.
There are some things that I have unpopular opinions, I have hot takes, but we can get to those. So like I said, you can watch it on Peacock. Chris, do you want to give a back of the box description?
I found a bunch of back of the box descriptions, and this one was the most ambiguous, I guess. I don't know. Like a lot of them didn't make any sense at all. But this one is the one I took from Letterboxd, where I could not copy and paste, so I had to like type it out. Well,
Right.
I'll do anything for the podcast.
We're good people here.
Okay, so picture it. It's 2002. I'm a teenager, maybe. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm still like an infant. I don't remember. But you're walking across the street to your family, to your local Family Video, which is what I did.
Yeah, that's what we had.
Sorry guys. Picture whatever you want, but we had a Family Video. It was really nice too.
It was nice. It was a big.
I would hang out there forever. Yeah.
The Blockbuster that was in Burrell before that, which the town sort of near where we the Blockbuster that was in Burrell before that, good Blockbuster, super teeny, little teeny tiny Blockbuster. And Family Video was like this big sprawling, like I could have just like spent nights rolling around on their floor.
It was like way better than Giant Eagle Video, which people who don't live in wherever we live, you probably have a Kroger or something, and they probably used to rent videos, but our supermarket grocery store had a video rental place. But it wasn't as good as Family Video. Family Video still exists. It's still close to where it used to be, except now it's tiny by Ray Azteca.
It closed. The pandemic.
I wonder why.
The pandemic finally killed it. I was so surprised that it like lasted when it moved into that new space. And I saw the last time I was there that they were selling CBD. Just anything to stay afloat, I suppose. Yeah. And then before I knew it, the pandemic actually officially killed them. RIP, Family Video.
Well, yeah, you had a good run. And I'm still friends with most of your employees on Snapchat, so we'll always have that.
There you go.
But anyway, we're in Family Video. I'm wearing one of those necklaces with the little ball bearings on it and a black t-shirt and Janko jeans. I was real cool, guys. I wish you could tell. You're looking for something. You're in the horror section, and you see the most iconic VHS/DVD. I have it on DVD. Yes, I don't know if it was ever on VHS, but it probably was.
This
Is
poster.
an extremely iconic picture of a cabin with two trees that represent the shape of a skull. You know, you flip it over, and it says, a group of 5 college graduates rent a cabin in the woods and begin to fall victim to a horrifying flesh-eating virus, which attracts unwanted attention of the homicidal locals.
Sure
Does that make any
does.
sense? I guess.
I mean, kinda. I mean, it chooses some very interesting plot points to focus
Yeah.
on. But spoiler warning, as usual, we are going to talk about this movie in depth up to and including the ending. So if you have not seen this movie, please pause this episode and watch it. Unless you can't handle gore, then please stay the hell away.
Yeah. Pretty gross.
It's fairly disgusting. Also, I am going to warrant an issue a. Let me try this again. I am going to issue a warning here. Watching this after the coronavirus pandemic took on a whole new set of feelings for me, to be honest, because it is about a very contagious bacterial infection. And yeah, so if you're a little sensitive to the spread of viruses right now, if you're a little sensitive to that kind of fear, maybe don't watch this one, or maybe do, because it'll help you work through that anxiety. It kind of gave me re-upped my metaphorical language for my fear of the coronavirus right now. Did you hear that super loud motorcycle? Okay. Yeah, it sort of gave me more metaphorical language for my currently renewed fear of the coronavirus, because, you know, the Delta variant and breakthrough cases and people still not getting vaccinated or putting on a fucking mask.
Did you see that, side note, Westmoreland County, the county where we grew up in, went from 1% infection rate to 7% infection rate last week?
Yeah, I did. And right now in Allegheny County, the numbers are at like something like a 50% increase. Like, wow. They went from 13 cases to like a day, if even, to I think we had 229 cases in Allegheny County earlier this week. So I don't know.
Wash your hands.
Yeah, I don't know what people have against washing their fucking hands, but wash your hands. Mask up. Can we just end it? Can we just end this?
Well, I'm not gonna like get on a soapbox or anything, but we could have ended this right when it started by staying in our goddamn houses for 2 solid weeks.
Was it really that hard?
I guess, because nobody could do it.
For me, that was heaven. If we could have just stayed in our houses, like we could have had a 2-week vacation. That was all you had to do, was just sit in your house and watch TV for 2 weeks. If you can't be alone with your thoughts for 2 weeks, I can teach you a class.
We didn't even have to be alone with our thoughts, because Tiger King came out then, and so did Love is Blind on Netflix.
That's true.
Literally, what else did you need?
And we all watched Tiger King. Every single one of us watched Tiger King.
Yeah. I mean, did you watch Love is Blind?
No, I did not.
Oh God, you gotta, you have to. It is ridiculous.
That's usually not, I stay away from those kinds of shows. But
oh, me too. I hate like romance reality dating shows. Game changer.
Yeah, I tried watching The Bachelor once and it was a disaster. I did not enjoy myself.
Yeah, I'm not a bachelor or bachelorette or Bachelor in Paradise person. I did watch The Gay Bachelor with my boyfriend Lance Bass, but I didn't like that either. But I love Lance Bass.
I love his TikTok so much.
I've only seen one TikTok of his, and it was him doing NSYNC songs.
Yeah, his TikTok is a happy place. So anyway, we're talking about Cabin Fever. And
yeah, not about my boyfriend Lance Bass.
We're talking about my boyfriend Eli Roth.
He is very handsome.
If you don't know what Eli Roth looks like, do yourself a favor, take a second, pull up a Google image search.
We're just
have a
watching
blast.
Glorious Bastards.
We're just watching Glorious Bastards. Right now, this man, he made a documentary for Discovery Plus for Shark Week about the dangers and the big problem of shark hunting for sport. And he has become a passionate advocate for saving the sharks. And there is nothing in this world that is more attractive to me than that.
Not even Paris Hilton's new cooking show on Netflix.
That's cool. I dig that. I'm excited for that. Did that come out yet?
Yeah, it came out yesterday, I think. I didn't watch it yet though, but I follow her religiously on any social media platform, and she's been posting about it a lot.
Well, I have all next week off, so I think that's probably going to be high up on my list of priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get into some movie facts. Let's get into some movie facts. So, while filming a particularly bloody scene, Ryder Strong decided to go for a walk in the woods between setups. Covered head to toe in blood, he happened upon a group of 35 schoolgirls who were on a field trip. The girls screamed at the sight of this blood-drenched hiker, and then screamed even louder when they realized the hiker was the star of Boy Meets World, because Ryder Strong, if you were born after 1998, Ryder Strong was Sean Hunter in Boy Meets World, and we were all in love with him. Every single one of us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The girls chased Ryder Strong through the woods, which is weird behavior because he's not the Beatles. And Strong eventually made it back to the film crew and vowed never to wander off between scenes again.
Does he act anymore?
I haven't seen him in anything. I saw him in Girl Meets World.
I didn't watch that.
I watched the first couple episodes of it. It looked good, but I've aged out of that. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to see what it was like for the nostalgia factor.
Maybe I'll watch Boy Meets World again.
It's all on Disney Plus. I still need to send you my password.
That's illegal.
All right.
You're winking.
You want to do the next one?
A crew member named Robert Jones took that's what one we're on. Took the decapitated body prop home. Unfortunately, as a true testament to the practical effects in this movie, the police pulled him over and held him up at gunpoint because they thought it was a real headless corpse in his car. But don't worry, he proved it wasn't.
It's the whole cannibal Holocaust thing all over again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the sound mixer on this film, John Neff, actually had been hospitalized for a flesh-eating bacterial infection. And he said that the makeup in this film is 100% accurate, which is the scariest thing I can think of ever.
Gross.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The pancake scene was added after Eli Roth saw the actor, Matthew Helms, or who I called Wig Boy, doing Taekwondo in between scenes. He decided to let him show off what he can do.
It took a lot longer than I care to admit for me to realize that boy was wearing a wig. And that wasn't his hair.
Well, I wish I could teach you my secrets, but I'm very gay, and it's just natural to spot a wig wherever I'm at.
I may have been today years old. I very well may have been today years old. So Deputy Winston says party in all of its forms over 15 times. I put in that one scene, but I don't think that that's correct. I think it's throughout the entire movie. He says party or some form of party.
That Deputy Winston is in one of my favorite movies of all time?
What's that?
Detroit Rock City.
Yes, I have seen Detroit
Giuseppe
Rock City.
Andrews. I can't tell you if he's been in anything else, but I know he's been in at least 2 movies, and I love him.
I think he was scattered around the early 2000s. And
my favorite
independent
quote
film
he says in that movie is, "You looks like you have the entire Revlon factory in your purse, you greasy disco ball." I love that movie. I'm gonna watch it later.
It's a good movie.
I don't really like band movies, I've seen most of them, but Detroit Rock City is great.
It is a really good movie. It is.
And the lady from that other scary movie's in it as the most Christian mom you've ever seen. The Conjuring. No, not The Conjuring. The one where that boy goes sleep flying out of his body after projecting. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, you want to do the next one?
In the credits, the actor in the bunny suit is listed as Will Never Tell.
Yeah.
There was one I almost wrote down about the young lady who plays Marcy who didn't want to do a nude scene.
Right. And
because
then
of
I don't want
she
to
was
talk.
oh, we don't want to talk anymore. We can play the
Well,
quiet game.
no, no, no. I just mean like that kind of, I'd like to think that Eli Roth has become a more mature person since this movie has been filmed.
He was like what, 18, 19, 20 when that came out?
I would say he was in his early 20s when he made this movie. And that particular fact is upsetting. It was upsetting to read as a woman.
She taped the sheet to her butt.
Well, they had a big argument about she didn't want to be naked in a scene, and they had like a big argument about it, and they reached a decision that she would show 1 inch of her butt. So Eli Roth, in a move of great maturity, I suppose, took out a ruler and measured exactly 1 inch of her butt crack.
But in that same scene, you can see her boobs.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, I don't know. That's just one of the most degrading things I've ever heard in my life. Like if somebody doesn't, and then you can't even really see her butt in the scene.
No.
So I don't think it adds anything.
It just looks really weird that the sheet is hanging up there.
Yeah.
At the time.
I don't think it would have really added anything to the plot for her to be naked. I think that he just wanted it for the purposes of having an attractive naked woman in his film, and that's why I don't like that fact.
I mean, if you wanted to see her naked, she was naked in the entire Not Another Teen movie, like the entire time.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons she didn't want to do it, was because she didn't want to be typecast as the woman who would do nude scenes.
And she hasn't done another one until 2017, so good for her.
She's so fucking pretty.
Yeah, do you think is she still? I haven't seen her in a long time. I've actually not seen her since Cabin Fever.
Her and Jordan Ladd are both still very, very beautiful. Jordan Ladd, I think, is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, she's almost hard to look at. She looks like when I picture an angel, and not like, the actual biblical version of an angel, which is just like a bunch of eyeballs with like a cloak thrown over it and then two giant
like Angel from Buffy.
Yeah. Just like a stereotypical angel. That's what Jordan Ladd looks like to me.
Oh, I picture Anya Taylor-Joy, but I don't know why. I think it's her eyes.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, you want to talk about a movie?
Yeah, let's talk about a movie. So we're gonna do a walkthrough for you.
Trigger warning. We got some dead animals.
Dead ass dogs.
We're gonna get into a couple N-words really soon.
We're not gonna say them.
Oh no, we're not.
We're not gonna say them. We're just
there's I took count of the gay slurs, the R words, and everything else problematic with this movie.
I didn't keep count of them. I just winced every time they happened. This was that time when saying that, describing something as gay or using it as an insult was wildly popular. That was not
a thing. Don't worry. Hilary Duff stopped that shortly hereafter.
Oh yeah, that sweet ass commercial she did. That wasn't ever allowed in my house. So
I can't tell if it was allowed in mine.
Yeah, no, we weren't allowed to use it like that. And I don't think it ever would have occurred to me to use it as that, but it was very popular at that time. At the time that this movie was made, this was how people insulted each other, which is fucked up. I'm sure if given the opportunity to remake this movie, Eli Roth would not do that again.
Well, we don't know that because they just remade this movie and he produced it.
That's true, but did they use that language over and over again?
We're gonna find out this weekend, guys, because I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Unless they have that one scene that I'm gonna leave. When we get there, I literally sat there with my eyes covered. Then I had to rewind it because I'm like, no, I have to watch this for the podcast.
Was it the?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my hot take. So anyway, this movie opens with a man walking in the woods, and he sees his dog, and he's like, "I got you this rabbit." And the dog doesn't move because the dog is covered in blood, so the dog is pretty clearly dead.
I don't think the man was like all the way there.
Yeah, he's like poking the dog a few times, and then he pulls. He noted like the dog's flesh is rotted. He pulls
like the dog was gutted.
Yeah, and it spurts blood on him. And then we meet our principal cast. Jeff, Marcy, Paul, Karen, and Bert. They're driving a van through a super rural area. Then they're on their way to a cabin that they've rented, or they haven't rented it, right? Like it's somebody's mom's cabin.
I couldn't tell you. I hardly paid attention to the beginning.
Fair enough. So they stop at a local convenience store, super rundown, like little shack, basically in the middle of nowhere. Very creepy. Not somewhere I would ever stop for fuel or snacks. Yeah, no. So there's a kid sitting on the porch, and he's got a mullet.
A mullet.
And who sits down next to him? I didn't write who sits down next to him. Paul sits down next to him, and he bites his hand.
Well, in the child's defense, Ryder Strong was so hot that you couldn't help but want to put your mouth anywhere on him. Guys, this is 2002 Ryder Strong. He is gorgeous.
I'm so glad that we're recording for the first time when I just almost did a spit take.
And then he sits down next to this random child and he's like, "Put her there, pal." And the kid just leans over and bites him. I would have done the same thing. His dad comes out and gets mad at him. Yeah. And there's no, like, they say something about like, well, you should put up a sign if you shouldn't sit next to the kid, whatever. So they go into the convenience store and they're getting a bunch of supplies for their trip. And the guy behind the counter says something that seems flippantly very, very insanely scary racist. And he uses the N-word twice here in one sentence. Well, two sentences. Guys, it's not cool.
No.
Don't say it.
No. You don't need to write it into a movie filled with a bunch of white people.
It is not edgy. It's not cool. It's not funny.
I know that Eli, he was very inspired by Quentin Tarantino, but this isn't what you want to pull from Tarantino's work.
No.
You don't need to have a bunch of white people saying the N-word. So anyway, they leave in a hurry because they're very uncomfortable. So they get to the cabin and everybody starts doing their activities. Jeff and Marcy, who are a couple, immediately have sex. Paul and Karen. Paul's in love with Karen.
Karen couldn't care less.
Yeah, they go for a swim in the lake, and Karen kisses him. And he says, like, "What, do you like me now? Like, is this a date?"
Is this a date? And Paul, you're trying too hard. You're way too hot to try this hard.
Is this just going to be the rest of this?
The rest of the synopsis. So good looking.
God. He's a cutie. But it's really, really hard for me to separate Paul from Sean Hunter because they're like the two roles that I've seen him do.
I couldn't name a third. Yeah.
I couldn't name a third if I tried. He might have an extensive filmography. I don't know.
Then it must not be in horror movies because
we would know.
I would have seen him. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that happens. And meanwhile, Bert, who is the world's biggest piece of shit, he takes a rifle and goes hunting for squirrels.
Gay squirrels.
Yeah. He says the squirrels are gay because they're gay.
Cool.
It doesn't
cool way
even.
To go, Bert.
That one doesn't even make any fucking sense. It was just so thrown in there. It makes no sense whatsoever. And then he accidentally shoots a guy. Surprise!
Is this before or after he catches? Oh, Bert's weird. He starts a fire by circling the fire pit with like a gasoline or a kerosene, lighting it on fire, then walking into the woods to kill a woodchuck. He thinks he sees his woodchuck, so he shoots it, and it's a human being. The man from earlier with the dog. And he's like, I'm sick and I need help. And he's like, stay away from me, man. Stay away from me. So he just says he's going to go get help. He has a car and he can take him to get help. So Bert just goes back to camp where Jeff and Marcy, Marcy just fingered Jeff, just so we're all clear.
Yeah.
But they're
Nobody's
outside.
Saying that's gay.
Yeah. I'm sure he loved it because he said he did.
Yeah, he was really excited about it.
So everybody, never mind. Never mind.
Go on.
So Bert gets back to camp where Jeff and Marcy are yelling at him for lighting a fire and just walking away. And Bert's like, okay, he doesn't mention the man he almost murdered. He just goes back about his business.
That's true. It's the guy, he's like telling the guy to back up, and the guy won't, like, because the guy's coming at him. He's got his face is all messed up, and he's like coming at him, and he's like, please help me, I'm very sick. And Bert's like, back up, man, back up. And then he shoots him again because Bert's garbage. Bert's a garbage person.
He's not a great person.
No, and I think that we're supposed to like Bert in a way that you're supposed to like all of the characters from American Pie, and I don't like Bert.
I don't think I liked most of the characters from American Pie. I like Tara Reid.
Oh yeah. American Pie is like junk food to me. Like, I know it's bad for me, but I'm still gonna watch it.
I've seen all of them except for the most recent one, but I could not tell you anything about them.
Like I've seen American Pie, American Pie 2, and American Wedding.
I didn't see the reunion one.
I think I did, but I don't remember it at all. So
if Blink-182 is not in it, I'm not interested.
They are certainly in the first movie. That's true. Yeah. Anyway, in this movie, the 5 friends, the BFFs, they build a bonfire later that evening. And Paul tells a non sequitur story, another little, like, it's like a side story that has nothing to do with anything, about a bowling alley that he used to go to when he was a kid that closed down forever because one of the disgruntled employees tied up all of the other employees, smashed in the back of their heads with ball peen hammers, cut up all their body parts, and then bowled with them. And Eli Roth's brother is in this scene as the smiling guy from the bowling alley who gets his head bowled and then put into the ball return.
They look similar.
All 3 of Eli Roth's brothers look like, I mean, all 3 of them, they all look the exact same. And they're usually in his movies. So anyway, speaking of Eli Roth, he pops up.
He's dressed like Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit. He has that goatee. He's
got the hair. He's got the goatee. He's got like the weird, like slouchy, like attitude. But his name is Justin, but he calls himself Grim, and he asks them to call him Grim. And he approaches them with his dog, Dr. Mambo. And she says dog like a doctor or a professor. I mean, like doctor like a PhD or a professor. And he says, yeah, he's a professor of being a dog. Ooh, faced.
I almost left the room right then. I almost turned the TV off and walked out.
Yeah, I mean, like eventually he became the bear too, but I guess we all have to start somewhere.
Right.
It is
He
hard to
also
watch.
has a giant bag of marijuana.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, leave. Like they're like brushing him off, like, please leave us alone. You're very strange and we don't know where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, oh, I guess I'll just go smoke all this weed by myself then. And they're like, oh no, stay, come hang out.
Stay with me.
Yeah. So it starts raining and he says that he's going to come back to the cabin after he goes and puts all of his equipment back in his tent and that he should be back in about 30 minutes, but he never returns.
And this is also where the guys make a bet to drink nothing but beer for the rest of the week, which is kind of important, but not really.
It's kind of important a little bit.
Is anything in this movie really important? I mean, the plot's like thin. It's a thin plot.
It's pretty, it's a little all over the place, but I love it. I love it. So later that night, they hear a knock on the door. And when they open the door, it's the man that Bert shot before, but he's in even worse condition. He's just like rotting, like the man is melting. And he's begging for their help. And he like
I have a problem with this scene.
Okay, go on.
So Bert shot this man and then never came back for him after he said he would. And then when the man knocks on the door, Bert stands right in front of the door and then tries to cover himself with his arms and his hat. But he doesn't leave the view of the man. What's going on?
Bert's garbage.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. Bert's garbage. Well, he starts like coming towards them and they're like, please, like, get away from us. Like, we'll get you help, but like, please don't come near us. And he tries to drive away in their car, but then he just pukes blood all over it. Like abnormal amounts of blood all over their truck.
I think vomiting any amount of blood is not good, but projectile vomiting only blood, probably very bad.
Probably. Seems like it could be pretty bad. So he gets out of the car and he's like still coming after them, and like Paul has the two girls behind him and he's got like a flamethrower kind of situation going with like a hairspray and a lighter, and he lights the guy on fire and the guy runs into the woods on fire and then he dies in the lake.
Karen wants to go to the police, but much like in I Know What You Did Last Summer, the guys are against it, or at least Bert is against it, because Bert says no. He said it was an accident. They can go to the police later.
Yeah, everybody else is pretty logical about it. Garbage Bert, is the only person that's like, no, absolutely not.
And they just go with it, I guess. I mean, they're in a cabin in the woods. They fucked up their car because while the man was inside vomiting everywhere, they were shooting it and beating the car with a bat. And it don't work no more.
Right. So in the morning, a cop shows up. And would you like to take this since this is your boyfriend?
Wow. Well, first, Jeff and Bert go to get help. They tell Paul to stay with the girls, and then Marcy decides she's going to canoe for help herself. So left only at the cabin is Paul and Karen. I have a hard time remembering Karen's name because it's really basic. During this time, Paul pours himself a glass of water from the faucet, which we know now that poor dead guy is now corpse juice in the water
reservoir.
supply.
Yeah.
So he fills up a glass of water out of the faucet, which is gross by itself, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
Guys, don't. But you can see chunks of things in the water, which nobody notices ever. There's actually a lot of stuff that happens before we get to Winston.
Really? I forgot that this all happens before Winston. I'm actually doing most of this from memory.
Oh, well, Karen drinks a chunky water.
She takes like a little sip of the chunky
the baby
water.
a sip. The
sip.
baby a sip. Look at the baby sip. And then we cut back to Bert and Jeff, and they see a woman gutting a whole pig. The pig is like rotted on the inside, and she starts punching it. She offers to radio them a tow truck, and they go inside the house, and she said they're talking about the hermit, which is what they call him, and which is what he's credited as, and how they shot at him and scared him off. And they're like, "Oh, it wasn't Henry, was it?" And they're like, "We don't know who the hell Henry is. Like,
and
you can't just say that." Yeah, they look down, and there's a picture of Henry, her cousin or brother or husband, I don't remember, but it is Henry.
They killed Henry.
They killed Henry, and then they just ran out of this woman's house.
Right.
Made Marcy a bunch of excuses. Canoes herself to wherever she ends up.
Which, like, where did she get that canoe?
Couldn't tell you. I don't know anything about Marcy. I don't know where she got that canoe. I don't know. There's a lot of continuity problems I have with this movie later, like when Bert's running through the woods and gets back to the cabin. Couldn't tell you how he did that. Couldn't tell you. But Marcy finds her way to a house. It's a nice house. She just walks right on inside. And guess who's inside is Bert and Jeff somehow. How?
I don't know. Ran in the same direction, I guess.
But back at the cabin, a police officer shows up and knocks on the door. He's cool. He's got a mustache.
Isn't that a cop thing though? Like, didn't in Sleepaway Camp, was it the first Sleepaway Camp where the mustache was super bad? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So maybe that's just a trope of cops in horror movies. It's just.
But really I think this one was a real mustache.
Oh, wasn't the dad in? I've only seen Twilight once. Wasn't the dad in Twilight? And he was a cop, and he had
a mustache too. Yep. Only once. I've only seen them once or twice or 10 times, but you know.
Well, they're all on Netflix now, so I thought about revisiting them, but also I didn't like them when they came out, so I don't think I'll like them now.
I saw Breaking Dawn. I saw Breaking Dawn Part 2, midnight showing, first showing, Southside Cinemas, by myself.
Would Breaking Dawn be like a mashup of Breaking Bad and Twilight?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
And then Heisenberg's like, Jesse, and then Jesse's a vampire.
It's a vampire, bitch.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Oh.
Deputy Winston.
Deputy Winston's there. Paul tells him how, like, what happened. He says that the hermit beat up their car and it doesn't work anymore. Winston offers to get them a tow truck the next day. But Paul wants to go home and he tells Winston such. And Winston's like, no, man, you got to stay and party. You're in a real party town.
Mm-hmm.
He knows where all the parties are.
One of my favorite lines from any movie ever is when Karen comes out and Winston is like, nothing to worry about, ma'am. Just get back inside. Have yourself a big 40. Just party. Yeah.
First of all, buddy, it's like 10 a.m.
And she just goes,
okay.
It's fine. I love that moment. That's so fucking funny.
My second favorite moment is when Officer Winston gets on a bicycle, rings the bell, and then rides out of the woods.
Yeah. It's very funny. So later that night, they're all sort of arguing or talking about the situation with the man that they burned alive again.
Mm-hmm.
And Karen says that, she's not feeling well. She's drinking more of the nasty tap water. she says that she's not feeling well and she's going to go lay down. And Paul goes in to bring her some water, and then he's like, oh, I'll leave you alone. And she's like, no, stay. And so he gets into bed with her. And then later that night, I don't exactly love this either, but he just, while she's sleeping, starts touching her. She's not exactly, it's not exactly enthusiastic consent. We'll put it that way. She's definitely asleep. He definitely just rolls over, looks at her, and decides that he wants a piece and then goes for it.
But boy, does he get what he has coming.
Yeah, because while he is attempting to pleasure her, we hear some subtle squishing noises. And then he pulls his fingers up and they are covered with not only blood, but goopy tissue and gristle. And he flings off the covers and sees that she has a giant rotten boil on her thigh. And so everyone starts freaking out. And they decide to quarantine Karen in the tool shed.
At gunpoint.
Yeah. And they're like, we're going to lock the door so that Dr. Mambo can't get in, because they've found out at this point that Dr. Mambo is super aggressive.
And patrolling the area.
Yeah. He is quite the little sentry. But she's obviously justifiably pissed that they're not just trying to find her help and instead are just leaving her to die in this shed. And they all start to check each other. They all go back into the cabin. Marcy, Paul, Jeff, and Bert all go back into the cabin, strip down to their underwear, and check each other for any marks or anything. And then later that night, Marcy goes to bring food to Karen, like she's a dog. She opens up the lower part of the barn door and slides a plate in and says just let me know if you need anything else. And Karen is smoking a cigarette.
Real cool,
Yeah, real cool and real pissed. And she says, you better close the door, Mars. You wouldn't want to infect everyone. But her face comes into the light out of the dark, and you can see that she's deteriorating really fast. She looks way worse than she did, however long before, 20 minutes ago. So the next day, they see that she's really her legs are all fucked up. What am I missing here?
That night, Marcy made chili. Right. Paul went to ask for help, but he got caught peeping on somebody's wife and then gets chased away from the house.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Jeff is now covering his mouth with a cloth covering, which works, by the way. Just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out there. It works for Jeff.
Jeff does not get infected. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
In this movie.
Jeff makes it to the end without getting infected because he put a cloth over his face and socially distances himself.
Correct.
He's portrayed as an asshole, but I have to disagree in this case. He did the right thing. He
also drank only beer.
That's true.
Whereas right now, Bert is about to lose the bet by taking a sip of water on accident. They also hear Dr. Mambo outside getting into the barn. He's trying real hard, but they go out, they shoot the gun, they chase him away. And then the next morning they get the car running because Bert worked on it all night or whatever. And they go to get Karen. She's covered in blood. And they're dragging her to the car. And Bert's egging them on, come on, guys, let's go. We got to get out of here.
Meanwhile,
but little do we know, Bert is coughing up blood.
Yeah, Bert drank the corpse water and he has begun coughing up blood,
I
and
love
he's
that. Corpse
deteriorating.
water.
Yeah, corpse water.
If I start my own brand of water, it'd be corpse water. Get some
Sponsor
today.
me.
Yeah. Corpse water. Tastes like death.
So he's coughing up blood. And then they get Karen into the truck, and there's this whole argument about where she's going to sit. And then when they go to put her in the front seat, she vomits blood all over the car that they just spent a whole bunch of time disinfecting and cleaning. And they figure out that Bert is also sick, and they're like, we maybe shouldn't get in the car with you. And he's like, fuck you guys. So he drives away.
And this is where Jeff goes inside, gets all of his beer, and just walks right into the forest, covering his mouth with a cloth face covering.
Cloth face covering, social distancing. These things work for Jeff.
Nobody else does this. And guess what? They get sick.
They all get sick.
All of them.
Because they don't stop touching each other, and they don't cover their faces with a piece of cloth.
Crazy. This movie came out, how many, 20 years ago now? 10 years ago? 5 years ago?
20.
20 years ago.
Almost 20 years, yes.
And it's still just as relevant now as it ever was.
Maybe even more so. Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, he drives off. Bert drives off. Jeff runs off into the woods.
And Paul and Marcy go bang.
Yeah, Paul and Marcy have trauma bonded, and they have sex without.
In the middle of sex. Like into sex, like during sex, he goes, what, no condoms?
No.
Guys, you put a condom on before sex, not in the middle of it, just so you know. But she says, don't worry, I'm healthy.
Like, there's just anyway. Bert, in the meantime, is he goes to that convenience store where Dennis with the wig and the biting. Just remembered what you said about Dennis biting before. So Dennis starts doing taekwondo
and yelling
in slow motion and yelling pancakes. And then he bites Bert again, but this time, since Bert is sick, it's a lot grosser than when he bit Ryder Strong. And then his dad gets mad at Bert and is like, if you get my son infected, that's pretty much the same as killing him. So I've got to kill you. Buddy,
teach your son not to bite strangers.
Right. So Bert takes off, and the redneck guy, he gets some rifles, he gets some buddies, and they take off after Bert to try and kill him.
Here's my second problem with this movie. Now, when the hillbillies go to kill Bert and the rest of the campers, they bring each of them, there's 3 of them that go. One of them has a gun, one of them has a rifle, and one of them brings a box.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
I was going to say that. I was going to spoil the end of 7, but I stopped myself for you guys. You're welcome. It was a really funny joke, too.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
What's in the box, though, for real? Because we'll get there.
Yeah.
Paul is off by himself now after he washed his dick with Listerine.
No.
And he finds the hermit in the drinking water, pokes his corpse with a stick, then falls off the ladder, mouth first, onto that corpse.
That was after. Well, Marcy is, Paul's going to look for Jeff so they can all walk back to town. And then Paul is kind of weird around her after what they did. And he's like, I got to get out of here. So Marcy is crying in the bathtub, and the marks that Paul made on her back from her hands do you need me to do this entire part?
You probably should.
Okay. So yeah, the marks on her back that Paul made with his hands they're becoming like wounds that look like Karen's. And then the thing happens that Chris described with Paul, like, nose diving by accident onto the corpse in the reservoir for some reason. Why is he poking the corpse with a stick?
I don't know. Like maybe it's morbid curiosity. Maybe he's a child.
It just seems unnecessary. It seems like a waste of time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Paul. Anyway, so this is the scene that everybody talks about from this movie. Marcy is in the bathtub. For some reason, in the middle of like a little pandemic in her group, she starts shaving her legs, which is like the biggest case for like feminism and like not shaving your legs I've ever seen. When she's shaving her legs, she takes off some skin.
She like, guys, I covered my eyes during this scene like a 35-year-old man would who's only 32, about to be 33 in 2 weeks. And then I had to rewind it because I told myself, no, Chris, you're doing this for the fans. They need to know. Guys, don't watch this scene. I've seen like this one scene is worse than the entire Green Inferno.
Okay, so here's my hot take. This isn't that bad, guys. This is not that bad. I have been waiting to say this on like a global scale for 20 years. This is not that bad. In comparison with all the other shit that happens in this movie, not that bad. It might just be the idea of it that freaks you out.
She kept going. She was shaving her legs. She looked down, saw she was like missing skin, and then just kept shaving her legs.
Yeah, it's dumb. She's dumb. That's what's the worst part of it for me, is that she, for some reason, is insisting on shaving her legs, even though her skin is rotting off of her body. But the actual scene, it's just not that bad to me. I've never understood why this is like the most talked about scene of the movie.
I'm trying to think of anything grosser I've ever seen ever. Hold on.
Are you serious? Chris, you've
Nothing.
seen Cannibal Holocaust.
Yep. That was Cannibal Holocaust is easy movie to watch.
Okay, what about the scene in The Beyond, in the Lucio Fulci movie The Beyond, when like her eye slowly gets impaled?
I can't do eyes. I can't do eyes.
Yeah, see?
Okay.
See?
Yeah, you got me. Fine.
Yeah, this is not that bad. And I know that I'm going to have people like coming at me. I'm really not trying to be an edgelord here. There are things that truly disgust me in this movie that I have a very hard time with. This just isn't one of them. I don't get it. I don't get why this is the thing that everybody talks about. I never have.
I almost walked right out of my front door. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this.
I appreciate that, but that's my hot take. I don't get it. I do not get it.
Maybe I'm just a baby. Who knows?
I mean, when we get to Hostel, there are things that like still like if I think about it, bleh, even though I love that movie.
I haven't seen Hostel
in
a long time. I've seen Hostel 2 more frequently because I like it better as a movie. I don't know why.
Is it because Heather Matarazzo's in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we could have done Hostel Part 2 for June because there's an LGBT person in it.
That's true. But we can
now
do a Hostel series later and then make the Hostel series just the first 2 movies and forget that the other ones ever even happened because Eli Roth didn't do them.
Wait, there's more than 3?
I think that there's a 4th one, or there's like another.
I've only seen the first 2.
Maybe. I saw 3. It wasn't good. No, there's only a Hostel 3. Okay. Anyway.
Don't watch Hostel 3.
Anyway, now that we're past the leg shaving scene, and now that we're past my feelings on it.
Why would she have literally a robe the same color as her bloody, skinless legs?
I mean, I think I have that robe. I think
Oh.
I have that exact robe. I could cosplay as Marcy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you should.
She, for some reason, runs outside, and she goes like she's going towards the shed, and she is attacked by Dr. Mambo, who is infected for some reason, and she gets ripped to pieces. Paul comes back and he finds her little pieces all over the place, including her foot, which still has a flip-flop on it.
That was cute.
Yeah. And then he opens the shed door and sees the Dr. Mambo is eating Karen alive. But Karen
he
is
doesn't
pretty much
shut the door. He just leaves it open and runs, which is stupid.
Yeah. Karen is already pretty much dead.
The dog ate her lips off. There's like no coming back from that.
Did the dog eat her lips off, or were they already just gone?
You know, that's a good point. I don't know.
I've never known. Lips. Yeah, she doesn't have any lips. So this is after Paul kills Dr. Mambo. They cut away from that.
We don't see that dog.
Yeah, death. We hear like the gun going off, and then that's it. So
I have a problem with this scene, though.
I have a big problem with this scene. Paul kills Karen. It's like a mercy killing. So he hits her.
He had a gun.
He hits her with a shovel, and then he just keeps hitting her with a shovel. But I think
I counted 9 times.
I think that at this point we're supposed to think like he's just lost it. Like he
had a gun. He just shot a dog.
Right. Maybe it was out of shells.
I don't know. He shoots somebody else with it here in a little bit.
The deer?
No, Bert uses it.
Right. Yeah, but he kills her with a shovel.
I just don't understand why he beat her 9 times, presumably about the face, with a shovel when he had a gun that had bullets in it. He was so in love with Karen, and he just face murders her to put her out of her misery. Guys, I'm not like, just shoot me.
Yeah,
like the TV show with David Spade.
A mercy killing is like a quick death.
Like break her neck or something. Not
beating me with a shovel multiple times in like a very aggressive manner.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bert gets back to the cabin. He's like crawling up the steps, and the rednecks are like right behind him. So they set things up so that like Bert is sitting in a chair opposite the door. And when they open the door, Bert tries to shoot one of them, but the guy kills him with a shotgun round right away. And we don't see it happen. We just see blood splatter on the antlers behind him, blood and like matter. And then Paul like sneaks around a corner and kills one of the guys. That guy accidentally kills the other guy. And then there's the guy with the box. And while he's struggling with the box, who knows what's in the box? But
because he didn't just drive there for like a good 15 minutes where he could have opened the box.
Right. While he's struggling to open the box, Paul stabs him in the ear with a screwdriver. You didn't like that either.
That one got me. I don't like ear things.
Okay, I guess that's fair. See, you can like hear like the ringing when he does it too. Like that was a pretty cool effect. I really think that was pretty brilliant. Just as far as like a combination of like gore and sound design to create one practical effect. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So Paul runs away from the cabin looking for Jeff, shouting, "Don't drink the water," which I could make a Dave Matthews Band reference here, but I'm not going to do it.
Oh, I like one Dave Matthews song, and that's it.
Me too. That's it.
One song.
It's the only good one. I'm sorry, Mom. My mom is a giant Dave Matthews Band fan, and she probably just turned this podcast off, and she's never coming back.
Turn it back on. I need the listens.
We still have so much to say.
Yeah, we're almost at the end of the movie.
Okay. So
Paul's
he goes into a cave to look for Jeff, and he finds Grimm's body torn in half.
Yeah.
with
As
his
you
guts
would.
hanging out and like centipedes crawling in his ear, which I
Eli
felt
Roth
like
and
that.
ears.
I felt like that was very Fulci. I feel like Eli Roth was doing a little, he was doing a little tribute to an homage to Fulci there. Um, maybe just Diallo in general, because it could be Fulci or Argento. Those guys loved putting bugs on dead people. Anyway, Paul runs back to, he gets the car that the rednecks drove to the cabin, and he drives into town and he hits a deer.
Because he's not looking at the road.
This isn't funny to you? The deer legs, the animatronic deer legs kicking.
That would really happen in real life.
Oh my God.
Like
every time.
My parents have beat this into my brain that if I hit it, like if you don't, like if a deer gets into your car, it'll just kick you right to death. I don't know why.
He's just grabbing, it just looks funny. I don't know why. He's like grabbing the legs. So like he hits the deer and then the legs shoot through the windshield and they're like kicking. Mm-hmm. And Paul's like trying to stop them and he's like grabbing them and like pushing away. And then he gets a shotgun that was on the floor of the car. The guy with the box didn't bring the shotgun.
No, he brought the box.
He brought the box. And then Paul like blasts the deer out of the windshield. And he gets the deer's blood all over him. And he starts walking and he gets to a party. Yeah. And Winston is at the party drinking and
I hate this scene too.
He's drinking and flirting with underage girls.
Oh, yeah, he's encouraging these children to drink. Mm-hmm. There's a folk band consisting of a harmonica and an acoustic guitar.
I love this harmonica thing, man.
It makes me want to vomit.
Oh my God, I love it so much.
He asked Winston where the fuck his tow truck is. He's like, oh man, it's the party guy, you know. Mm-hmm. I forgot or whatever. He asked Winston for a ride. And then right then and there, he gets a call from his boss, who I'm guessing is the sheriff or whatever, chief of police. I don't know. He tells him there's a murder on the loose. There's some kids in the woods and they're all dead. So be on the lookout for a murderer, shoot on sight. They are very infected or whatever. Paul starts bleeding in people's mouths at this point. I don't know what's going on. The young man with the guitar swings it at him, at Paul, who's bleeding in people's mouths, and hits the man playing the harmonica. And this fuck swallows his harmonica.
And then when he's breathing, there's the harmonica noises, and you can see like the outline of the harmonica in his neck. Oh my God, I love it so much. It is so,
I'd almost rather watch her shave her legs again.
Have you ever seen that clip that's like the impact that has, the innovation that has, the creativity that has, the global impact? Like that is how I feel every time I see that harmonica scene. I am taken with that. I am swept off my feet by that. I love it. Because as he's dying,
movie, you know?
Yeah, as he's dying, his like last like dying breaths are like harmonica noises.
Hey, there's no prettier way to go.
Who thinks of that? That is so fucking good. It's so ridiculous and funny and gross and just everything that I love about horror happens with that harmonica scene.
I'm putting that in the notes.
Paul knocks Winston out with a stick. And, Winston says something like, you got to stay, man. It's a party. And Winston says, like, sorry, Winston, party's over, and, like, knocks him out. And he passes out. Paul passes out on the road, in the middle of the road. And a trucker gets him and brings him to the hospital. Just leaves him there on the doorstep. And then there's a sort of shining homage where he's like going down the hallway past these rooms. There's a person in a bunny suit operating on someone. And then he's like remembering everything that happened between him and Karen. And then he wakes up And the sheriff and the doctors are interrogating him and saying, like, we need for you to like start at the beginning and tell us what happened. And he's still too dazed and like can't answer their questions. So he is left alone, and he pulls up his hospital gown and sees that the disease is spreading on his abdomen. And meanwhile, the doctors have decided that they are not equipped to handle this situation and that he should be transported to a larger hospital. And they decide to let Winston drive him. Paul tries to warn him about the water in the reservoir, but he's not like speaking very well. Mm-hmm. And he only says water, and Winston says he'll take him to get water. And the next morning,
cut to Jeff,
who survived the pandemic. Survived.
Healthy, fine.
He is healthy.
Friendly.
Because he put a covering over his face
and
voluntarily.
Mm-hmm. Voluntarily.
And socially distanced from his infected brethren.
Who are all dead now except for Paul.
But anyway, Jeff starts, talking about like, they're all dead. I made it. And then in an homage,
happy.
Yeah, and then in an homage to Night of the Living Dead, he gets shot to death by the cops.
Yeah.
No.
We didn't. I mean, did he deserve it? Probably. He wasn't the nicest.
No.
I think Bert was nicer than him.
No.
And Bert was nicer than nobody. You know what I mean?
Right. So, meanwhile, Paul is dumped into a stream by Winston, probably as an act of revenge, and he's left to die. And there are kids collecting water for their lemonade stand in like one of those big like Gatorade jugs that they dump on people after sports games.
After a sport.
Yeah. After sport. And Paul's body is like straight up just like the blood is just going into the lemonade water. And then the movie ends with the kids selling the lemonade to all of the cops and some more of the locals. And a natural spring water truck leaves the store with bottles of infected water in the truck.
Yeah, and corpse water for everybody.
Yeah, so would start a global pandemic.
Yeah, much like we're in currently.
Yeah. Also, there's like an unnecessary thing that is also embarrassing that I don't even want to talk about.
We're not going to talk about it.
We're going to pretend that it didn't happen.
Yeah. But there's another N-word coming like in that scene.
Yeah, and some like very weird stereotyping of Black people.
It was horrible.
It's very upsetting. I really believe that Eli Roth has learned since then.
Yeah, he's saving the sharks. He's fine.
But anyway, that's Cabin Fever.
Yeah, what'd you think about it?
I hope you guys liked it. I know that it sounds like we didn't like it because we always sound like we don't like the movies that we're covering until we talk about them after we've done the walkthrough.
I don't know what I'm rating it yet. That's how much like it could go any way,
Well, let's start here then. Every week on Idiot's Guide to Horror, we like to not just tell you what we think. We don't want you to just base your opinions off of ours. So we also pull our favorite reviews from around the internet sphere. And so far, we've just been calling it movie reviews. Maybe we could call it other people's shit. I don't know.
Other people's shit.
Other people's shit. And do you wanna start?
Oh God, did you hear that? My iPad is not on silent.
Whoopsie daisy.
Okay, other people's shit. I picked a review from Letterboxd from Dirk H, who gave this movie 4 stars and said, "I'm so happy I don't shave my legs."
That's very, very good. I thought I took a screen cap of my review, but I didn't, but it's fine because I just pulled it right up. So mine is from Sunday Reveo on Letterboxd, and they gave it 4.5 stars. And this is very relatable for me. They said, "Hey, it's me, your shitty friend that'll defend Eli Roth to the death."
I saw that and I thought of you.
That's me. I understand you, Sunday Reveo. We are one and the same. So as far as, the Bechdel test, definitely passes the Bechdel test. The DuVernay test, big bad no.
Mm-hmm.
Very bad no. Does not have any diversity of any value whatsoever.
No.
It's like not only noticeably absent, he like goes out of his way to make it a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard for me. That's very hard for me. I don't like, I mean, you have to criticize your heroes, right? You can't just worship them.
I mean, is he my hero? No, because I tweeted him over and over again about the ending of Green Inferno, and he has not replied to me yet. And it's been a while.
Oh, I can't relate.
I know.
I'm sorry to hear that, because last year on Thanksgiving, I got a repost from him, so it's like it's no big deal, whatever.
Well, I was actually like in the movie theater because I saw the Green Inferno in theaters. Don't know why.
Oh,
And
I did too.
I was upset about the ending, and I was just tweeting him over constantly about it.
I like how you're like sort of demanding to speak to the manager of the Green Inferno.
I mean, there was somebody who a lot of people died in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
The one person who deserved it the most did not.
I think that his fate was worth it. Okay, I feel like
we can't talk about it. It's a spoiler.
Yeah. We'll
for a
talk
movie
about
that
it
I'm
later.
never going to watch again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think I could ever sit through it again either, but we can talk about that later. So let's do the Idiot's Guide to Gore too.
Well, I personally gave this a 5 out of 5 on the gore. 6 if you count the leg shaving scene. But I feel like you're going to be different. You're going to give it like a 1.5.
I would give it like a 4.5 out of 5. It's gross, but it's not his grossest.
No, well, it's not his grossest. No.
Because like if you're gonna like, we would have to like invent a new scale then. If this is a 5 out of 5, you know, if we ever cover Hostel, or you know, God forbid we ever decide to rewatch Green Inferno and cover that,
yeah,
we would have to invent an entirely new scale. So in order to keep this balanced and true and just, I must give this below 5.
Okay, so like on a regular Idiot's Guide to Gore, I would give this a 5 out of 5. On an Eli Roth scale guide to gore, I would give this a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, how about we have like a separate, like we have separate guides to gore. Like this is the Splat Pack guide to gore. So like him, and if we ever cover like any of the Saw movies, and you know, like who else was in the Splat Pack? Anyway, if we ever cover any of these like extremist horror movies from the early 2000s, they have their own scale. So yes, on the Splat Pack guide to gore, 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
Yeah.
One of the least gory movies from this genre in this time.
But if you are sensitive to gore, stay the fuck away. It's not really a 2 out of 5.
Oh no, baby, it's a 5.
It's 5. Yeah, run for the hills. So we also like to imagine that we have been given the keys to remake a movie. Bear in mind that we have not watched the remake of Cabin Fever yet, either one of us.
Who has the time?
Who has the fucking time?
I watched 7 movies on Sunday, but I don't have the time for this.
I watched Beverly Hills Ninja this week, but I don't have the time.
And why wouldn't you?
I had never seen it. I had never seen it. Not Chris Farley's, like they underutilized Chris Farley's specific talents, in my opinion. Because I'm a big Chris Farley fan.
I haven't seen this since a child, so I can't really remember. I remember loving it, but I was a child.
There are still parts of it, like Chris Farley was the funniest man to ever live. And there are still parts of it where obviously like I was in tears from laughing just because of like his facial expressions or the way that he like flung himself into something. But other than that, you've got Chris Farley and Chris Rock, the two funniest Chris's to ever live. Chris Rock is... Oh
my God, that's hurtful. I'm very funny, everybody at home.
You are very funny. I'm sorry. Well, how about the two funniest Chris's, but not the funniest Christophers?
Deal, I'll take it.
Okay. Chris Rock's barely in that movie, for one thing. For most of it, he's just like in the background chasing around a chicken. And then Chris Farley is just kind of like reduced to rebel in this, and like he's comes off as like very oafish and like stupid instead of like lovable and like a lovable doofus the way that he was so good at doing. It just didn't do it for me. But anyway, we've been given the keys to remake Cabin Fever, and then we decide what we would keep and what we would throw away and redo right away. So, Chris, what was flawless for you? What would you keep in your remake?
The practical effects. We don't need CGI. We don't want it. We don't need it. We don't want it. We never need it. Well, maybe sometimes. But this movie, this leg shaving scene, I know that Kara hates it. She said it's garbage. She doesn't like it. She wants to take it out. But I'm here with you guys. We're going to be cool. And the leg shaving scene was gruesome. It was brutal. And we need to end this movie. So don't tell Kara we're talking about this. Don't tell her we're talking about this right now. But the leg shaving scene, I'm going to keep it. It was flawless. Okay. All right, I got to go now. Here she comes. Bye.
Listen. I don't hate the leg shaving scene, everybody. I actually really like the leg shaving scene, but I just don't think it's the most gruesome part of this movie like everybody seems to think it is. I think that it's fantastic. I love the leg shaving scene, even though it doesn't make any logical sense and it makes women look like they're completely illogical and stupid. Because why the fuck would she shave her legs when everybody around her is dying? She has no one to impress. There's nobody that she's going to be bristling. Why? Oh, hi.
Cecil.
Hi, Cecil. No, I don't hate the leg shaving scene, but I absolutely agree. The practical effects in this are off the fucking charts. And that is one thing that Eli Roth consistently brings to the table. He keeps practical effects alive. Love that man. The practical effects in this movie were so good that the dude got held up at gunpoint.
Right.
Like, can we talk about it? I also think that just in general, this movie is like just the right amount of campy, but set against like a fair amount of logical. The characters aren't stupid. They aren't doing stupid things, or they're not like, it's not like I Know What You Did Last Summer where they all collectively decide to ignore the fact that they killed a guy and then move on with their lives. Like, they're all actively looking for help in all of the right ways. It's just that nothing is happening the way that, nothing's working for them, and they can't beat the spread of this disease. And I think that's fantastic. Also, he really effectively pulls off a bunch of different homages. What a cute cat we're looking at right now.
Oh, all three cats are next to my feet screaming at me. I just fed them. I don't know what's wrong.
They just want your love. Clearly.
And I figured we're recording, so.
Yeah.
This is Muriel, people at home.
Hi, Muriel. And there's Clarence in the background, sleeping. Or not sleeping, hanging out. So if you could change something about this movie, what would it be? What would you take out of your Cabin Fever remake?
We need to stop collectively as a community killing dogs in movies.
We've talked about this. We've gone over this, everyone. Don't make us tell you again.
I mean, we're going to keep doing it until you stop doing it. Also, I don't need a movie where a white person uses a racial slur.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Pulp Fiction is not an excuse. Even if if they had just stopped at this guy being racist, like if they had just stopped there, and if they hadn't turned it into a joke where he has like an excuse to say it, one thing. That would have been one thing. But let's consider the fact that even in Get Out, which is a movie that's all about racial aggression, not spoken once.
Right.
Never spoken by a white person once. So it is entirely unnecessary. You can definitely communicate that someone is racist without it. You definitely don't need to turn it into a weird joke where a weird redneck is like excused to say it like he did in this movie. As much as I love Eli Roth, I really would like strongly, very strongly like to believe that if he could do it all over again, that he would take that out of there.
I would hope.
Yeah.
I would hope.
Also, the rampant homophobia.
Yeah, I almost made an excuse for it, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, no, we don't. Like I said at the beginning, this was very popular, but that doesn't change the fact that it's very jarring to hear now.
Yeah, there's no excuse for it.
And it's just like, it feels forced every time they say it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels really forced, and it's really uncomfortable, and it's so unnecessary. Also, it's like it's a little bit misogynistic.
Mm-hmm.
The women don't have a lot of character development the way that the men do. So I feel like I would flesh out their characters a little bit more, and that Marcy wouldn't be shaving her legs in a fucking, like she wouldn't be shaving her legs when everybody's dying.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That's what I've got.
Hey, what would you rate it?
4.5 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
If you look on Letterboxd, my review was just the speech from the end of When Harry Met Sally. Because that's how I feel.
This is a review by Kara Ann on Letterboxd. I love that you get cold when it's 70 degrees out. I love that it takes you a half an hour to order a sandwich. It really is.
Yeah.
I don't know why I have it up, but I do.
Yeah. That's how I feel. I feel like Billy Crystal, like I'm just yelling at the poster of Cabin Fever. Like, when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with someone, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible, but it's just me yelling at the Cabin Fever poster.
Mm-hmm.
I love gore, guys. I just love it. I love it so much. I love practical effects. Practical effects are my mistress.
Yeah.
Anyway, what would you rate it?
Oh, I gave it a slightly lower 3.5 out of 5.
It's fair. It's fair.
It doesn't have a great plot. A lot of it is kind of dumb and unnecessary. And it has a great ending.
It does have a great ending. It's got a great ending.
The build up, the lead up to the ending, like the beginning of the movie is almost all unnecessary.
That's like, he does. This one is like a little less so, but there's a trend in his movies where like the first like half an hour to 45 minutes are like kind of sunshine and roses.
Mm-hmm.
And
like
then
Hostel.
Yeah. And that was the whole point of Hostel, was that like the first half is like a sex comedy, and then the second half is those guys being punished for treating women as objects. So it's like almost like he exercised his own demons, which we can talk about when we cover Hostel eventually.
And we will cover Hostel, guys, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. You can skip it if you don't want to be there. I understand.
Maybe we'll do it as a bonus episode. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's sort of his MO. And it's a little less so here. We get a little bit more horror at the beginning than we do in any of his other movies. It's like a very stringent formula that he follows from like here on out, where like things are fine, and then disgusting for like an hour, and like relentlessly so. So this is like watching him take his baby steps towards like what he's going to become. And right now, I know he hasn't made a horror movie for a really long time, guys. I'm sad about it. Please come back to us, Eli. Please. I mean, I'm really glad that you made that documentary. Please keep saving the sharks. Please. Thank you so much. And like, if you haven't watched the Finn movie and you can stomach it, please, if you have Discovery Plus, check it out. And if you can't check it out, just go to the website and see what you can do about contacting representatives in towns that promote shark hunting. Right now, he's trying to get a shark killing tournament in Massachusetts stopped. But he just made like the Borderlands movie. That's in post-production now. Great, cool. Make a horror movie again, man. Make Thanksgiving. Make the feature-length like Thanksgiving. They made a feature-length Machete.
Mm-hmm.
Make the feature-length Thanksgiving, please. Please. Please.
I mean, I'll tweet at him because
That's what
I'm
he
still not-
reposted last year.
Oh.
I asked him, like, please. We've just all been through a pandemic. And he was like, repost. And I was like, does this mean you're going to do it? And then he didn't do it.
Oh. Well, we tried.
Yeah. Anyway, you can email us questions, comments, and recommendations, suggestions, feedback, whatever the hell you want to idiotsguidetohorror@gmail.com. Please follow us on Instagram @idiotsguidetohorror. Chris does the best and cutest photoshops of us as cartoons into the posters of these movies, into scenarios in these movies. I'm obsessed with them. I await them just as much as you guys do. You can also follow us on Twitter @HorrorIdiots. We don't do a lot there, but we'll get there eventually someday. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/horroridiots. That's pretty much just if you're not on Instagram, because it's just the same exact shit that we post on Instagram.
Yeah, we're mostly an Instagram podcast.
Right. But please continue to rate our podcast on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. It helps other horror movie fans find us. Please tell a friend about us. Thank you so much for everything you guys have been doing. We appreciate it so much. There have been so many of you that have spread the word for us, and you are getting us listens, and it's accelerating at a speed that almost makes me uncomfortable. But I just want to say that things are about to get better from here. Because I'm going to be able to, we'll just say this. This episode is the last time that I will not be able to throw my entire self into this before it's recorded. Things are about to change. I'm about to give you guys a whole lot more, and there's a lot coming down the pipeline. So stay tuned. And we recorded this for the first time, so hopefully
maybe you'll see us.
Yeah, maybe you'll see us. And in the meantime, have yourself
never waste your pain.
Yeah. Have yourself a big 40. Just party.
Yeah.
Right, good
Party
night,
on
everyone.
Oh.
Good night, everyone.
Bye. I have to call work real quick. They have not stopped calling me. Just give me 1 second.
Totally
so this
fine.
might take over my headphones. I'm not sure yet.
Okay, that's fine.
It did. So I can't